Now, I want to point out one last thing, that in David's song, in this hidden message of the gospel, okay, it's referred to as a lament. And I'm hoping this can bring the whole message home into the heart and the soul this morning, okay? It's called a lament, which is a sad song. It's a song of grief. We know that the gospel, the song of the gospel, is good news, right? It's meant to be a celebration. But there is an element of grieving in the gospel I want to talk about in terms of letting go of our false self. Did you hear what I said? Letting go of our false self. There's an element of grief that's good that I want to just express here a little bit. Our false selves and all of their pride and lust are truly buried. In God's eyes, it's finished. It is not who we are anymore. God honestly, truly, deeply looks at you and says, "My beloved son, daughter, in whom I'm well pleased." That's it. Final. Our problem is that we live life unaware of that, unbelieving of that, because we're still learning to listen and trust in the music. Plus, many people haven't even heard the music, and how will they hear it unless we go out and play it for them? That's another message. But regardless, both non-believers and believers live life very unaware of what Jesus has done for them. More than that, what Jesus has done as them. So there comes a point where you have to really take in the fact that much of who you've been and much of what you've pursued in life has been built on a lie. And while that is really good news, ultimately, it's something to celebrate because the new you, the real you, is the best you imaginable. Even though that's the case, it can be painful to accept this at first because you realize more and more, wow, I have wasted 20, 30, 60 years chasing after a lie. And also because you become comfortable and familiar with this shadow of a self, and so to let go of it can feel like letting go of a close loved one. Although it's a loved one who never actually treated you right. So, for example, the type of grief that I'm describing is when you accept the reality that you will never find, for example, a woman's affirmation to solve the promise or the problem of your soul, or a man's touch to fix your brokenness, to find the promise of life in its fullness. You will never find a relationship or some kind of experience deep enough to meet that need. And all the other things we chase and lust after, affirmation from people and accolades in other ways, and addictions, we realize, we come to accept that it's never going to cut it. And that can actually be painful to realize. So this is what I mean by there's an element of grief that comes when you begin to accept, wow, these addictions and these pursuits of what I'm looking for, they're empty. There's literally nothing at the end of this well. I could go another 60 years and there will be nothing at the end of that thing. And on top of that, this is not who I am. There's a funeral tune that is part of the gospel's music. And listen, it could be bitter in your ear, but it's sweet as it goes down. Because on the other side of that grief, They call it the new status quo, right? In grief therapy, when you lose a loved one and the difficulty of that, things will never be the same. But we teach people about a new way of life, a new status quo. Status quo might not be the best word I'm trying to use, but the idea is that you come into a new way of life that's actually resurrection life. It's actually life with rest and peace in a way that you'd never imagined, where your affirmation and identity is found in God alone. And then you can enjoy people for who they are, not what they can give for you.